If someone is using your tears to cook soup, would you let them finish it? That's how Amina's life began to fall apart. Na late night, Fuikogusi. Amina dey inside small family kitchen, rain dey tap tap for roof. She kneel near old clay pot with dey fire, her eyes red from crying. She sabi say her tears no be normal tears anymore. They black, thick, and no dry. She dey wonder why dem dey collect her tears. She feel weight, pressure, like life dey drain from her. She remember Mama Joe say once tears fall for cooking pot, soup go get spiritual energy. But Amina never agree. E dey fear. Now rain dey mix with smoke from wood fire. Spoon dey stir alone for pot without hand. Amina slow reach spoon with trembling hand. She ask herself, Abina my tears dey guide am. She drop one tear inside soup. Steam rise quick. Smell sweet way she never smell before. Her heart dey beat like drum. She want stand, but body no obey. Her mind dey scream, run, but curiosity hold her. She look into pot, see shapes shifting inside the soup, shadowy faces flicker. Next morning, sun shines small through bamboo window, but for Amina heart, everything still dark. Her body weak like cassava wey dem pound overnight. She enter the same kitchen, pot still warm and the soup still dey bubble like say fire never die. Her shadow long for ground, but she noticed say e bend somehow, like say e get second shadow beside arm. She wipe eye, look again, nothing, just her and the pot. She look mirror wey mama hang for wall years ago. Inside the mirror, she see herself, but her own reflection dey cry. Real tears, black ones. Her eyes for real life dry, but the mirror version dey sob. She step closer. Reflection no, they follow her movement again, and they stare straight like say e no care. Then from mirror reflection side, she see arm, one hand long and bony, stir the soup from inside the mirror. Amina fall back. Her back jam the kitchen table. Spoon drop for floor. She rush comot the room. Heart beats loud for ear like drum festival. But nobody dey house. Her papa travel go Benin. Mama go market. Only her dey home. She begin suspect say this soup no be ordinary soup. She remember one time as pikin, old woman talk say if dem beg you for tears, ask wetin dem wan use am do. But dem no beg Amina. Dem just dey collect. She think to herself, abi na this soup dey give mama long life. Abi na this soup dey protect her house, but her body dey vibrate with fear. If na only her tears fit cook the soup, wetin happen when tears finish? She walk slowly to her room. Under her bed, she bring out one old photo. Her twin sister wey disappeared 10 years ago. Amina never talk since then. But now, she dey feel say her sister spirit dey watch the pot. That night, thunder crack like whip for sky. Amina no fit sleep. Her dream full of water and shadows. She see herself inside big soup pot. People dey chop around am, but dem no see her. She wake up with sweat for forehead. She go kitchen again. As she reach door, she smells something sweet like burnt honey mixed with herbs. She open the door. Pot dey boil and nobody light fire. The clay pot dey float small from ground. Amina freeze. Her legs stiff. She dey hear whisper for inside pot. Not loud, just soft voices chanting like church choir in reverse. She step close. Her name dey repeat. Amina, Amina. She won't scream, but fear choke her throat. She take broom for corner, push pot small, nothing change. Then her own tear drop again. This time she no cry. Tear just fall from eye and move on its own into the soup. Immediately the pot stop float. Voices stop. Everything calm. Like say, tear na key. She go her mama room. Mama bed empty. But for bed, she see piece of paper with charcoal writing. If tears finish, use blood. Amina heart freeze. She never understand wetin her family dey protect or chase. But now she sabi say something darker dey behind the pot. She remember village story of Okun Inu Ibeji, the deep curse of the twin soul. One must cry to feed the spirit. One must disappear to balance the world. Her twin disappear. She dey cry. Now she know say na her turn to choose stop the ritual or continue the curse. The next morning, the village roosters crowed, but the air felt heavy, as though time had slowed. Amina stepped outside, her bare feet brushing against the wet red earth. The sky was overcast, and the wind carried whispers, too low to understand, but too loud to ignore. She walked to the edge of the compound, where the tall bamboo fence met the forest. There, she saw footprints in the mud, small, delicate ones, identical to hers, yet she hadn't been there. The prints led into the trees. She followed, heart racing, breath shallow. The deeper she went, the colder the air became. The trees grew taller, thicker, and dark. The sun disappeared behind the branches. It felt like stepping into a different world. Then suddenly, the footprints stopped. In their place was a pool of clear water shaped like an eye, staring up at her from the forest floor. As she knelt to look closer, her reflection rippled and then changed. It wasn't her face anymore, it was her twins. The twin who had vanished 10 years ago. The face in the water smiled, but the eyes bled tears. Then the smile faded and the lips moved. No sound came, but Amina understood. Don't stop crying, or I'll disappear forever. Amina staggered backward. Her twin's face vanished, leaving only her own horrified expression. The wind howled suddenly, bending the trees. Something moved behind her, a flicker of fabric, the sound of feet brushing the leaves. But when she turned, no one was there. She ran back through the forest, following her own panic. When she reached the edge of the compound, she saw her mother standing at the door. But something was wrong. Her eyes were open, too wide. Her hands hung at her sides like a puppet. Amina froze. The wind stopped. The world went quiet. Her mother tilted her head and spoke, but her mouth didn't move. The voice echoed from the kitchen. You broke the rule. Amina stood frozen. Her mother's eyes remained wide, glassy, and unblinking. Her lips stayed still, but the voice, low and ancient, continued echoing from the kitchen. It wasn't a warning, it was a sentence, a punishment already unfolding. You broke the rule. Amina stepped back, her legs shaking. She looked at her mother again. Her arms moved now, but not naturally. They jerked, stiff and slow, like something else was pulling invisible strings. Amina wanted to run, but her feet wouldn't obey. Then her mother's mouth opened slightly, and a thick black tear slid down her cheek. Amina gasped. It wasn't her mother anymore. It was something wearing her skin. She turned and ran towards her bedroom. Her breathing was sharp, loud, nearly drowning out the strange voices whispering her name from the kitchen walls. She slammed her door and pressed her back against it. Her chest rose and fell as though her heart was trying to escape. She looked around the room. Everything was just as she left it, except for one thing. The photo of her and her twin was gone. In its place was a new photo, one she had never taken. In the new image, her twin was standing inside the kitchen, smiling with both hands on a clay pot. But this time, her eyes were glowing red. Amina reached for the photo, but the frame was hot to the touch. She dropped it instantly. Her palm had a burn mark in the shape of a teardrop. Just then, the lights flickered. Even though it was daytime, the whole room darkened like a storm had swallowed the sun. Her window rattled. Her wardrobe creaked open slowly on its own. She reached under her bed, pulled out the box where she hid old things, letters, beads, and charms from her grandmother. Inside, she found the one item she had forgotten about: a dried bird skull wrapped in red cloth with a single black feather still attached. Her grandmother once told her, "If the pot ever speaks, feed it silence." Amina didn't know what that meant until now. She stared at the clay pot through her window. It was no longer boiling, it was glowing. Amina clutched the bird's skull in trembling hands. Its surface was dry and cracked, and the red cloth wrapped round it smelled like age and dust. The black feather was still attached, untouched by time. Her grandmother's voice echoed faintly in her memory. "If the pot ever speaks, feed it silence." She placed the skull carefully on her mat and sat cross-legged in front of it. Her chest heaved as she tried to steady her breath. The house was quiet, too quiet. Even the birds outside had gone mute. Then she heard it again. The pot. It wasn't just glowing now, it was humming, a low melodic hum that rose and fell like a lullaby sung by a ghost. It seeped through the walls and into her bones. Amina stood and crept toward the kitchen, every step deliberate and slow. The corridor seemed longer than usual, like the house had stretched itself while she wasn't looking. Shadows danced on the walls, even though there was no light. When she reached the kitchen door, she stopped. The clay pot on the stove was pulsing with a soft golden glow, and now it was whispering words, not just sounds. The voice sounded like her own, but distorted, like it came from underwater. "Cry, cry again. Feed me." Amina's stomach turned. The pot wasn't just cooking food, it was consuming something. Her grief, her pain, her tears. She stepped closer, and the pot glowed brighter. The lid lifted slightly on its own, and steam poured out, not upward, but downward, curling like ghostly fingers reaching for the floor. Inside the pot, there was no food. There was a swirling black liquid, thick like oil, and in it floated something that made Amina choke back a scream. It was her childhood bracelet, the one she lost the night her twin vanished. She reached out, but the bird skull in her room suddenly cracked loudly, echoing through the house. The pot hissed, the steam rose violently and pushed her back. Then the voice changed. It wasn't her own anymore. It was her twin's voice, soft and desperate. "Don't stop crying, or I'll disappear." But this time, Amina didn't cry. Her eyes were dry. The silence was deafening, and the pot began to tremble. Amina stood frozen, her back pressed against the kitchen wall. The pot had stopped glowing, but the silence that followed was worse. It felt like the entire house was holding its breath. Even her heartbeat sounded distant, as though something had stepped between her and her own body. She stepped back into the hallway, her legs weak beneath her. The smell of smoke and something sour lingered in the air, and the bracelet she saw inside the pot was now gone. Her eyes stung, but no tears came. The house creaked around her, timber shifting, roof groaning, like the building itself had come alive. Then came the sound. Not the pot this time, a soft splash from the bathroom. She turned sharply. The bathroom door at the end of the hall was slightly ajar. Light flickered from inside, casting strange shadows that didn't match anything real. She approached slowly. With each step, the sound became clearer. Water dripping, and beneath it, humming. She pushed the door open with one finger. The tub was filled to the brim with murky, dark water. The mirror above the sink was cracked in 3 places, but it still showed her reflection, though her face looked paler, older, and her eyes were no longer brown. They were grey. Amina leaned forward, studying the reflection. Behind her, in the mirror, another figure stood. It was a twin, wet, pale, and smiling. But when she turned around, no one was there. She looked back at the mirror. Her twin was still there. But this time, she wasn't smiling. Her lips moved slowly as though forming a warning. Then, the mirror cracked again, with no touch. Amina stumbled backward. The tub began to bubble violently. Black water splashed onto the tiled floor and snaked toward her feet like living ink. She tried to scream, but no sound came. The walls of the bathroom flickered like lightning behind wallpaper. Faces, hundreds of them, flashed for a split second. Old, young, familiar, strangers, all crying, all trapped. Suddenly, her own face in the mirror grinned wickedly, and a reflection raised its hand, holding the same bird skull she left behind in her room. Her knees buckled. The bathroom light exploded above her. Then, darkness. Darkness swallowed the room like a hungry beast. Amina lay sprawled on the wet bathroom tiles, blinking rapidly as her ears ran from the burst light. Her skin felt cold. The floor beneath her pulsed faintly, like the heartbeat of something buried below. She scrambled to her feet, disoriented. Her fingers slipped on the soaked tiles as she steadied herself. The mirror was gone, shattered completely, and only a jagged frame remained. But etched into the wall behind the glass were words, written in something thick and dark. Don't let it dry. Her breath quickened. She turned and rushed out, heart pounding like a drum of war. The hallway twisted strangely in her vision. Doors were closer together now. Paint peeled on the walls that had been cleaned moments ago. It was as though time in the house was folding inward. She reached her bedroom and flung the door open. The bird skull on the mat was now burning with gold blue flames. Her diary, the one she hadn't touched since her sister vanished, was opened by itself, its pages flipping furiously without wind. Amina stepped closer. The page finally stopped. Drawn there in black ink was a detailed sketch of the clay pot, but it had arms, long skeletal arms, reaching for a girl crying in a corner. The caption below read, "Only sorrow can feed it." Suddenly, a gust of wind, unnatural, violent, swept through the room. The curtains flailed, pages tore from the diary and scattered into the air. The pot in the kitchen began to hum again, louder now. It wasn't summoning her, it was warning something else. Footsteps echoed from the roof, not above the ceiling, inside it. Something moved across the boards, then a scratching sound, nails or claws digging from above. Amina backed away slowly. She glanced at the bird skull, which had stopped burning. Its beak was now pointing toward the wall, toward the old family photo of her and her twin. The eyes in the photo had changed. Her sister's eyes were now hollow black voids, and her own smile had turned into a thin, trembling line. Then came a new sound, breathing, not hers, deep, ragged breathing coming from inside the wardrobe behind her. Amina turned slowly. The wardrobe door was opening by itself. The wardrobe door creaked wider, its hinges groaning like something resisting release. Amina stood frozen, sweat and water dripping down her face. Her eyes stayed locked on the darkness within the wooden frame. It wasn't empty. Inside the wardrobe, behind the hanging clothes, was a tunnel. A narrow passage carved into soil and wood, like an ancient burrow. From deep within, a red light pulsed slowly, as if alive. Amina's feet moved before her mind caught up. She stepped closer, heart thudding against her ribs. The air from the tunnel smelled like ash and salt. She reached out and gently pulled the last piece of cloth aside. The light flickered violently. For a moment, she saw shadows moving along the walls of the passage, arms and faces, familiar faces. She hesitated, then knelt to enter. Her hands touched the cold soil as she crawled inside. The passage was tight, pressing against her shoulders. Strange carvings lined the walls, symbols she didn't recognize, but they pulsed with each heartbeat. Halfway through, the red light disappeared. She was swallowed in pitch black, but she kept crawling, dragging herself forward through thick silence. Then she felt it. A hand, small, cold, and trembling, grabbing her ankle. She screamed, but her voice didn't echo. No one heard it. The grip tightened. Another hand joined, then another. She kicked wildly, gasping, her knees scraping sharp rocks. She broke free and scrambled forward, faster now, until suddenly the tunnel ended. She dropped into a room, underground, round, walls made of clay and bone. Candles floated in the air, flickering with blue flame. In the center, a large pot sat on a cracked stone pedestal. But this one wasn't the same pot. This one had faces, real human faces, melted and weeping, embedded into the surface. Their mouths moved slowly, whispering in unison. But no words came out. She backed away, but her foot struck something, a red cloth. Unwrapping it, she found a mirror, not cracked, clean. And inside the reflection, her twin again. But this time the twin was crying. Her tears filled the mirror like water rising. Behind her, a shadow stood, tall, head shaped like a bird's skull. The room began to vibrate. The pot started to boil, and the whispers became clearer. Over and over again, the voices chanted, "Let her cry. Let her cry. Let her cry." The voices filled the chamber like cold mist. Their chant, "Let her cry. Let her cry," spun in circles, clinging to Amina's skin like invisible vines. The mirror in her hands felt heavier, as if it carried the weight of 100 unshed tears. She stared into the reflection. Her twin's face, soaked and shaking, pressed her palms against the glass from the other side. But the twin wasn't looking at her. She was staring at something behind Amina. Amina turned quickly. Nothing, just the swirling room, the suspended candles, and the weeping pots. But her instincts told her the truth. Something was here, watching, breathing with her. Then the pot groaned, a deep, sorrowful sound, like a dying mother calling out her child's name one last time. From within, a thick black steam began to rise. It formed shapes, heads, arms, screaming mouths, all made of smoke. Amina stumbled backward. Her foot slipped and she landed hard on the cold floor. As she tried to rise, the mirror clattered out of her hands and rolled across the clay surface, stopping directly before the pot. The pot reacted instantly. It shrieked. The faces on its surface stretched open, eyes wide in agony. Then they began to cry. Yes, real tears, thick and oily. They streamed down the sides and sizzled as they hit the ground. The pot drank its own pain. Suddenly, the candles extinguished. Darkness crushed the chamber. Amina couldn't breathe, couldn't move, couldn't scream. But in the blackness, something whispered in her ear. A woman's voice, software, sorrowful, familiar. "You were the firstborn. You were supposed to be mine." The lights returned, but the mirror was gone. The pot stood still, silent again, and something new had appeared. Beside it, an old photograph. It showed her mother, young, pregnant, smiling beside the fire. But what drew Amina's breath from her lungs was the object in the fire, that same pot. Her mother had cooked with it before the twins were born. Amina's hand trembled as she reached for the photograph. The voices in the walls began again, low and distorted. But now they whispered a name, Maimuna. Maimuna? Maimuna? That was her sister's real name. And suddenly, Amina knew. Maimuna never disappeared. She was taken, given, traded. If this gave you a chills, hit the like button, share it with your friends, and click subscribe so you won't miss out on the next chapter.